Hello and welcome to Omnia Health Insights. My name is Deepa Narwani and I'm the Senior Editor at Omnia Health Insights, your one stop resource for all the latest developments transforming the healthcare industry. Last year, Pfizer raced to develop a vaccine in record time, and these have been instrumental in saving a number of lives in the fight against COVID 19. Today, we are joined by Patrick van der Loo, who was recently appointed as Pfizer's Regional President for Africa and the Middle East, to discuss the company's vaccine plans for the region. Patrick's Pfizer experience spans more than 20 years in leadership roles, with multiple successes across geographies. In his new role, he will lead the commercial operations to bring scientific breakthroughs in vaccines, oncology, and rare diseases to serve patients better. Thank you for joining us today, Patrick.
Thank you very much for having me, Deepa.
Great. So, to start off the conversation, I would like to ask you Pfizer recently rolled out vaccines for children between the ages of 12 to 15. How safe is it?
That's a very important question because we always need to balance efficacy, safety, and tolerability in these types of situations. So recently, an analysis of our phase 3 trial in this population of the vaccine was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. So when we talk about efficacy, the findings demonstrated that the vaccine efficacy in this group was 100%. With robust antibody responses in adolescents 12 to 15 years, as you mentioned. And that's with or without prior evidence of infection. So to be clear, the trial was not conducted in this region. It was conducted in the US with 2,260 adolescents participating. With regards to safety and tolerability, it had a very favorable profile. It's very comparable to other adolescent vaccines, mainly transient, mild to moderate reactogenicity, and really no serious adverse events. And those results have very important implications for vaccination of this age group because it will not only help prevent disease and community transmissions, vaccinating adolescents will help protect the health of these young people and allow them to safely return to school, but also participate in extracurricular activities, and which is especially important given the severe mental health impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in this age group in particular.
Amazing. So what are Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine plans specifically for the Africa and Middle East region, and what are the next steps that the company is going to take?
We are now represented in well over a dozen countries, both as well as in North Africa, as the Eli region, the Gulf region, and in Sub-Saharan Africa. Next steps really are also making sure that in the low to low middle income countries, the vaccine becomes widely available. So there are a number of plans to make sure that we are also represented in those countries appropriately. On top of that, there's a lot of trial work going on, including in the region, in other patient populations. So there are trials going on that will read out shortly in pregnant women, and as a result also in newborns. And there on the basis of the outcome of those trials, obviously, we expect a number of countries to act very quickly in the region with regards to approval in these patient populations as well. On top of that, and you've seen a lot of this in the news, it's about, will booster doses be needed? How long will the vaccine remain effective? We started vaccinating as early as December last year. We're coming up now for many of these people to 6 months time frame. So there are multiple trials reading out with regards to the necessity and efficacy of having this booster dose. Will it be needed? And it looks like it will be. And that will obviously lead to a lot of work that needs to be done with countries that we have agreements with already for the initial vaccination of their population.
Yeah, great. So what, according to you, are some of the major trends that will be driving the growth of healthcare industry in this region?
What I've found when I got this role is that the regional healthcare sector is very dynamic here in the region. And I think there's a critical period of growth ahead for both the industry as well as the countries that we operate in. There are a few elements that I'll highlight, but I'll start with what I think is the key to facilitating the growth, which is a robust regulatory framework that encourages innovation. And key to that framework are questions around intellectual property or IP protection, which has been an issue in this region in the past. And a strong IP culture really helps to promote medical progress in a number of ways. It provides incentives to sustain R&D across therapeutic areas. It encourages technology transfer, and it attracts capital, both local as well as foreign direct investment. And together, these elements, they fuel innovation and economic growth while supporting the creation of medicines that save lives. Conversely, inadequate regulatory frameworks for intellectual property rights will fundamentally increase the length of time it takes to deliver treatments to patients, which you see in certain countries still. But I'm very encouraged by what I see from a government perspective, really to want to make this work. Now, governments that are focused on creating these frameworks of quality, safety, efficacy, while supporting the development of innovative pharmaceutical products, they will leverage growth the best. And there's a lot of ambition in countries throughout the region, not just in Gulf, but also in North Africa and also in Sub-Saharan Africa. And moreover, these goals support the move towards knowledge-based economies rather than brick and mortar based economies, which will help to retain and develop the next generation of talent, which is needed to power the future healthcare industry. There are numerous other trends, obviously, that will help drive growth. Very shortly, it includes collaboration with the wider ecosystem to ensure better patient access, which is very important in Africa, Middle East, as well as from an industry perspective and a customer perspective, an openness to adapt to newer ways to engage with customers, especially, I'll call it mid-pandemic, but mid-pandemic and post-pandemic.
Great. So you mentioned patient access. So what is Pfizer doing to drive greater patient access across Africa and the Middle East?
Yeah, as I mentioned, this is something that has been very critical in this region for many years, and there are so many initiatives I'd like to highlight, but I'll focus on three. The first thing many people think about when it comes to patient access are patient access programs. So we have a number of these programs that help eligible patients who cannot afford their Pfizer medication. We have currently over 30 programs in 11 countries across Africa and the Middle East to provide affordability solutions in this space. So we support the lives of over 4,500 patients suffering from various oncology, inflammatory, and rare diseases. But aside from these patient access programs, there are also structural elements we work on. And we work on those both as an individual company, as well as an industry partner. So as Pfizer Africa Middle East, we're working in several countries on managed entry agreements. And these have a particular focus on health outcome-based models. And this we do in order to accelerate access to innovation in these countries. And as an industry partner, we're working with PharmAg in the region to support the efforts of the governments to develop policies that are aimed at creating headroom for innovative medicines. And there are multiple ways you can do this, but we're trying to do this by achieving greater efficiencies in spending. Spending on off-patent medicines, for example, and other health system policies that are related to this pharmaceutical spending.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today, Patrick.
It's my pleasure, Deepa.
Is there anything else that you think you'd like to add?
What I would just say is that we're in a great period of transformation in Africa, Middle East. And I mentioned earlier that there's great ambition on both the side of the industry and the partners that we have in countries. So for me, it's a great honor to be elected as a regional president for this region at this particular point in time. So thank you very much again for having me.